Science is the systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained through observation or experimentation. But are there compelling evidences that points towards a creator or God? To answer these questions, earlier today we've interviewed an astrophysicist. But before we get to our show, I'd like to ask all our viewers to subscribe to our channel down below for more interviews and discussions on various topics, because this is Zain Khan and we're live. Welcome to Zain Khan Live, where everything is discussed and nothing is censored. Today, our esteemed guest is a scientist and astrophysicist, Hugh Ross. Welcome to our show, Hugh Ross. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Hugh Ross, as an astrophysicist, as a man of science, and also a man of faith, do you believe that science and spiritual beliefs should be kept separate? Why or why not?
Not at all. God reveals himself through Scripture. He also reveals himself through the book of nature. The book of nature draws him to, the book of nature declares who he is, his attributes. That's why everyone in the world has a revelation, because God's revealed himself through the record of nature.
Dr. Hugh Ross, is there scientific evidence that points to a creator?
Yes, there are four evidences that prove to be most effective in persuading scholars who come from a non-theistic perspective. One would be the origin of the universe. We look at the universe and we see that there's a beginning, not just of matter and energy, but of space and time itself, which tells us there must be a causal agent beyond space and time that created our universe. The second piece of evidence is the fine-tuning of the universe, our galaxy, and our planetary system that makes life possible on our planet. A third piece of evidence would be the origin of life, how we now can establish scientifically that life originated on planet Earth in a geologic instant of time without the benefit of a prebiotic soup. There's no naturalistic soup of prebiotic molecules, which indicates there must be a supernatural explanation for the origin of life. And the fourth one would be the exceptionalism of human beings. When we compare human beings to all their life forms, we are unique in that we have a consciousness that we don't see in other animals, and we alone have symbolic capability. And so we human beings are actually designed for non-physical communication. There's two components to humanity, a physical component and a spiritual component, and we now have scientific evidence to sustain that. And it's been my experience, those four lines of evidence are the ones that have been most effective in persuading non-theistic scientists that there really is a God beyond the universe that created everything and designed everything for the specific benefit of us human beings.
Dr. Hugh Ross, let's get to the last question. What do you see as the most compelling scientific evidence for a creator or God?
Well, I think the most compelling evidence is what we see at the beginning of the universe. The amazing thing is that God designed his universe in such a way that we can actually look back in time and witness the cosmic creation event. So, for example, if God had placed us here any earlier in cosmic history, light from the cosmic creation event would not have adequate time to travel on the space surface of the universe and reach our telescopes. On the other hand, if we were put here any later, dark energy would be accelerating that distant point away from us at greater than the velocity of light. So I find it interesting as an astronomer, we happen to live in the universe at the one time where we can see 100% of the history of the universe and actually directly witness the cosmic creation event. We're also at the only place in the universe where life is conceivably possible, where it's dark enough that we can actually see all the way back to the cosmic creation event. And it's our ability to witness and measure that cosmic creation event that gives us the most compelling scientific evidence that there must be a God beyond space and time that created everything. So, for example, thanks to our ability to make these observations, we can demonstrate that general relativity reliably describes the movements of bodies in the universe. And that is the foundation for the space-time theorems. If the universe contains mass, and both of us are living proof that it does, and if the equations of general relativity reliably describe the movements of bodies in the universe, then not only does matter and energy have a beginning, space and time has a beginning, which means there must be an agent beyond space and time that created everything. Now, the non-theistic physicists and astronomers out there have tried to wiggle out of this by appealing to what they call quantum gravity, which is basically looking far enough back in time where the universe is about the size of a proton or smaller. And when the universe is that small, then quantum mechanics begins to have a predominant effect. So it's not just quantum mechanics or not just gravity, but quantum mechanics. And they've been speculating through quantum gravity theorems that perhaps in that era where we can't make observations, that's when the universe was younger than 10 to the minus 43 seconds, there might be a way out from these space-time theorems. But what has happened in the past year, we astronomers have been able to look at the images of distant quasars and blazars, and if the quantum space-time fluctuations were large enough to give a possibility of an escape from these space-time theorems, it would blur these images. We don't see the blurring, which means the quantum space-time fluctuations in the quantum gravity era must be small enough that the space-time theorems hold, which means there really is an agent beyond space and time that created our universe of matter, energy, space, and time. And when you combine that evidence for a transcendent creator with the fine-tuning of the universe, that tells us that that creator not only is transcendent, it's a personal being who has great power and great love for humanity, because literally every size scale that we measure, we see this overwhelming evidence for fine-tuning design for the specific benefit of human beings. So the universe as a whole shows this design. That was the first thing we astronomers discovered. But we now know that life is only possible in a very highly fine-tuned cluster of galaxies. We see thousands of clusters of galaxies, but our own cluster of galaxy is the only one that has the features that would make advanced life possible. Then we look at our Milky Way galaxy inside our local group of our cluster of galaxies. Over 200 different features of our galaxy must be fine-tuned to make advanced life possible in our galaxy. And then we actually look at our star. We've been spending 60 years, we astronomers, looking for an adequate twin of our sun that it could be a candidate to have a planet orbiting it on which advanced life could possibly exist. We have found no twin. Many stars are twins of one another, but the sun does not have that kind of adequate twin. The sun must be designed. Our planetary partners must be designed. We now know that every one of the 8 planets plays a critical role in its fine-tuned features that makes advanced life possible here on planet Earth. And we come to our own planet, 400 different features so far we have found that must be fine-tuned to make human beings, or the equivalent of human beings, possibly exist on our planet. And the fine-tuning evidence goes dramatically up if we say, what about a planet that can support billions of human beings at one time? And that tells us that God not only wanted a small population of human beings, he wants a relationship with billions of us. And he designed the universe in such a way to make that possible. And literally in every size scale, from the universe as a whole, right down to the fundamental particles inside the nucleus of the atom, everywhere we look, we see this overwhelming evidence for fine-tuned design, testifying that the creator beyond space and time must be a personal being who has enormous power and enormous love for we human beings.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hugh Ross, for being on Zain Khan Live. It was a pleasure having you.
You're very welcome.
This was Dr. Hugh Ross discussing some compelling evidences that points towards a creator. But before we get to the end of our show, I'd like to ask all our viewers to subscribe to our channel down below for different interviews on various topics. Because this is Zain Khan and we're live.